Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining this month's new member onboarding webinar. My name is Sydney Konahia, and I'm the Manager of Member Services and Retention with IFA, and we're really happy to have you guys all on today, and thank you for being IFA members. So these webinars are hosted every other month, and it's just an opportunity for us to give new members, or if you are a new employee of a long-term member company, just a deep dive into all things IFA, kind of going to benefits in a little bit more detail, and just give you an overall welcome. So today's speakers, we have Jillian Scott, who's the Vice President of Foundation Development and Strategy, David Smith, the Director of Diversity Programs. They're going to be touching on the IFA Foundation, which is kind of the primary topic of this month's webinar. We have Jeff Hanscom, Vice President of State Government Relations and Public Policy, and he's going to be talking about our government relations team and all the great work they do to protect the franchise industry. We have Sandy Curtis, who is our Vice President of Education, and she's going to be talking about our CFE program and the IFA Academy. And then we have myself, and I'll just be giving kind of a general overview of some of our programs and other benefits that members can take advantage of. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to Jeff so we can get us started.
Thanks, Sydney. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for your membership. We appreciate it. For those of you who are new, that assume is most of you, welcome aboard. Look forward to working with you guys. Give you a quick rundown of what we do here in government relations. This is the team. We have obviously a number of us who handle state and local, or myself and Matthew handle state and local. Mike Lehman heads up GR. Sarah is our general counsel. Erica and Anna work a lot on the PAC. And we've got everyone in between and Catherine on our comms team. Go ahead, Sydney. So what does GR or government relations do? For those of you new to the trade association space, we are the lobbyists. We are the ones who go out and talk to government officials, whether in DC or in the States, or sometimes even at the city council level. We really go wherever franchise issues take us. And like I said, sometimes that's all corners of the country at all levels of government. Our primary role is to ensure that the franchise business model is protected, enhanced, and promoted in front of government officials, and really to ensure that you all can continue to do what you do, whether franchisor, franchisee, or supplier. Go ahead, Sydney. And so just some of the tools in the government relations toolbox, you'll hear a lot about grassroots and grass tops. And again, if you're new to trade association world and government relations specifically, grassroots is our way to engage with individual owner-operators, individual franchisees across the country. And that engagement may be as simple as sending communications to your member of Congress, your local elected officials, or whatever the case may be. Grass tops advocacy is very similar, but instead of talking with and working with individual owner-operators, grass tops advocacy is more focused on folks who are in the franchisor C-suites, if you will, depending on where those headquarters may be located, and depending on the elected officials that we may need to work with. For example, if we have an issue in Georgia, we may be calling on grass tops advocates in Atlanta, or vice versa, grassroots advocates in Florida for an issue that we may have with a senator from Florida, right? So all of that to say, and I'll talk about FAN, our Franchise Action Network, in a few slides, but we certainly benefit as an organization and as a business model from your engagement in our government relations. There are no better messengers to elected officials, regardless of the level of government that they may sit in. There are no better messengers than the individual owner-operators or folks who are doing this day in and day out, and that has held true for a long, long time. FranPac is the IFA Political Action Committee. That is what we use to support members of Congress who we believe are aligned with the franchise business model. FranPac is supported by individual contributions from IFA members. Obviously, if you have questions about FranPac or how to get involved, feel free to reach out to myself or Anna or Erica on the GR team, and we'd be happy to talk with you about it. Public awareness campaigns are obviously a big part of what we do as well. That brings in a little bit of the comms part of, or the communications part of government relations. The awareness campaigns are really a large tool for us to help build a foundation for issues that we envision needing to talk about with government officials across the country, or again here in DC. And I'll talk a little bit about our existing Open for Opportunity campaign, which is just about to wrap up our third year and about to turn the page into year 4 in 2025. But we'll talk about that in a second. But needless to say, these campaigns are instrumental in our voice and our ability to tell the franchise story to elected officials, again, across the entire country. Obviously, we do direct lobbying. That is exactly what you think it is, and that's myself or others within the government relations department meeting with elected officials, DC, Sacramento, Austin, Tallahassee, wherever the case may be, and talking about whatever the issue is that has brought us into his or her office, whether that's opposing legislation or supporting legislation or asking for changes to legislation. That is what we do kind of on a day in and day out basis. A lot of our lobbying is based on research and data, right? We can say all the good things, but unless we have the quantitative data to back it up, it doesn't mean very much. So that's a huge tool in the toolbox. And that's also an ask or a flag, if you will. If you do, and you will, see emails about responding to a survey or providing information, those emails are very important. That information is exceedingly important to help us do what we do and help us tell the franchise story to members of Congress, and like I said, all folks across the country. Go ahead, Sydney. Franchise Action Network, right? This is like what I mentioned just a second ago. This is, or FAN, Franchise Action Network FAN. You'll hear more about FAN, or you'll hear it referred to, excuse me, as FAN. The Franchise Action Network is our database of grassroots advocates across the country. There are thousands and thousands of them out there, and hopefully we have a few more after today. There is no cost to join. It's included in your IFA membership. And really all it is a tool for us to get in touch with the individual owner-operators across the country if and when we need them. And like I said, when I say we need them, it's really the business model needs them, right? We don't take lightly asking for franchise advocates to do something, because obviously we know that franchise advocates have their day jobs. They're running a franchise business. They are helping franchisors, whatever the case may be. So we don't take it lightly, and we don't ask unless we need it. And oftentimes the ask is as simple, like I said, as clicking here to send a message to a specific elected official. Oftentimes it could be, are you available to join and meet with member of Congress so-and-so, or state legislative or state elected official so-and-so? Because like I said, the messengers on all of these issues, or the message means much, much more coming from the individual owner operators, the folks who are opening those businesses on Main Street, the folks who are providing those jobs. And when we are able to bring you and your brands and get you in front of elected officials, that, like I said, the message resonates that much louder and helps us ultimately protect the business model that much better. So again, if you have questions about FAN or what we do or how we do it or why you should join, feel free to, like I said, reach out to myself or anyone on the GR team. But I would encourage you to join. It's really as simple as, name, email, and we'll contact you, obviously, if or when necessary. Go ahead, Sydney. And this is just a quick snapshot of Open for Opportunity, right? This is IFA. We've basically wrapped up year 3 of OFO, or Open for Opportunity, turning the page quickly to year 4, which will be here before we all know it. And Open for Opportunity has been a great chance for IFA to take franchising on the road, right? It's been a roadshow for us. We've gone to dozens of cities across the country, places from Miami to California, to Sacramento, to Dallas, to Chicago, Atlanta, New Jersey, so on and so forth, all across the country. And it's been really a great opportunity for us to get on the ground in various markets across the country and really bring together not only franchisors, franchisees, but also third-party groups that we think are affiliated with franchise, like chambers of commerce, local tourism groups, local restaurant associations, whatever the case may be, and also most importantly is bringing elected officials into that mix. So we're meeting with state elected officials, local elected officials, mayors, city council folks, and federally elected officials, senators, congresspeople, all across the country, and really putting on a showcase of, if you will, of what the franchise business model is and who the franchise business model represents in their communities. And it's exceedingly important for elected officials to be able to make that connection to real people, real business owners, real job creators in their districts. That, like I said, it really makes a big difference. And really, as we look at where we go in Open for Opportunity, obviously, we don't always just go to Miami as much as we'd love to. We plan strategically, looking at where do we think we're going to have issues, potentially, whether it's at the local level, at the state level, or even at the federal level. And we try to plan our stops accordingly. And ideally, we're building relationships and making friends before we need them, so that when we do need them, they remember, oh, that great OFO event and all those franchisees and groups that we talk to, this legislation could hurt them, this legislation could help them. So it is a very strategic program, but again, it's been a great success for us, and we look forward to continuing it next year and getting out to more places across the country. So be on the lookout for OFO invites, and obviously, if we're coming to a city or town near you, we'd look forward and hope that you would join us. So I think that wraps up the GR part. If you do have questions about government relations, FranPac, OFO, or anything else within that realm, feel free to, like I said, reach out to myself or anybody on the GR team, or really anybody at IFA. We can get you to the right person. But thanks again for your membership, and look forward to working with you guys.
Perfect. Thank you, Jeff. So now we're going to jump into what is considered the business team. And the business team covers all these different departments. So that starts with membership, which is my department. We are all spearheaded by Jen Brandine. So membership, Paul Rocchio, which I'm sure some of you on this call are familiar with him. He likes to call himself the janitor at IFA, but I think he's more of our mascot. And then we have education, which is headed up by Sandy Curtis. Sales is headed up by Sheila Fisher. We have Alan Catlett, who heads up our events team. Sarah Williamson heads up all of our operations and technology. We have Caitlin Russell, who honestly, she is all over the place for all of us, but she really does fall mainly under Alan's department. And then we have our marketing department, which our marketing department is fairly new as far as the employees, and they have been an incredible addition to our team. And a department that I could not fit and also kind of forgot to add, which is a little bit new as well, is our Great Foundation team. They do have their own dedicated slides, so you'll be able to see their faces again. But that is made up of Jillian, David, and Wendy. So a little background about IFA. We are the largest and oldest organization representing the franchise industry, and we were founded in 1960. Our mission is to protect, enhance, and promote the franchise business model. So the protection comes from all the tools and programs that Jeff was just speaking about through our government relations team, enhancement kind of through all IFA programs and benefits, and promotion, again, kind of an all hands on deck situation, but definitely that comes into play a lot with the company listings on IFA's website that franchisors and suppliers receive, in the FOG, sponsoring or exhibiting at IFA events, or through print and digital opportunities, and just being an IFA member. So our membership is made up of over 300 different verticals within the franchise business model. So everything from quick service to home service brands to childcare, kind of everything you can think of. I remember when I was actually interviewing, seems like forever ago, but it was about 4 years ago. And I was asked what I think of when I think about franchising, and I, of course, mentioned McDonald's and Wendy's and, the fast food restaurants of the world. But since working at IFA and meeting all of our members, and even non-members, it's very clear how far-reaching franchising is, which makes this just a very unique and wonderful business model. Last but not least, our membership base spans across over 1,200 different franchisor brands. There's probably closer to 11,000 franchisees. and over 600 supplier members. And I'm going to take a break and pass it over to Sandy so she can give us a bit of information on CFE and education as a whole.
Thank you so much, Brittany. Sydney. Sorry. Welcome, everyone. And I would like to tell you a little bit about our education program. First of all, our Starship certification program is the Certified Franchise Executive. This program is up to a 3-year journey. Of course, we have people that fast track and achieve this esteemed designation within a year. We can help you anywhere along your way. It is the paramount of distinction amongst anyone in franchising. So we're more than happy to talk with you about it, answer your questions, and help you get started on your way with that. Brittany Cosby manages that program. And so reach out to us at cfe.franchise.org or just send Sydney an email, any of us an email, and we'll get back in touch with you. We'd love to tell you a little bit more about this program. All right, next, Sydney. Thank you. And so our education program is for everyone. We have a lot of courses that not only feed into the CFE program, but also for just professional development. No matter your tenure, no matter your journey along in the franchising world. We have an amazing IFA Academy, an online portal that has more than 250 courses offered. Several are offered in more than 61 different languages. It is an international platform. You can take self-paced courses. We do live virtual classrooms. We do event learning as well. So we try to meet you where you are in your ongoing and lifelong learning journey into franchising, business, and leadership courses. So we are happy to give you a trial run in the IFA Academy, show you what we have, answer any questions you have about education, and would love to talk to you more. So just reach out to us, and welcome to IFA. Thanks, Sydney.
Thank you, Sandy. All right, and now we're going to jump over to our foundation team with Jillian and David.
Wonderful. Well, we are cruising right along. If we collectively get any bonus points for saving time, I'm feeling really good about that. Hi, everyone. It's great to meet you. My name is Jillian Scott. You can see me here with a bit of a different hairdo, joined, of course, by David, as you see here, and we're also representing our colleague, Wendy. Each of us work on the foundation team that Sydney did not include in the org chart, but we certainly will not hold it against her because we are part of a recent reintegration into IFA. So before I dive into that a little bit more, this is maybe even a test if anyone's awake, but click that hand raise button if you've heard of the IFA Foundation before. I have a hunch it may be a new term for a lot of folks here today. So I don't see any hands. You may not be listening, but either way, I hope it's an exciting opportunity to hear more about some of the charitable work that we're doing, really the tentacles that we have out across the United States as part of the IFA community. So I mentioned that we're really reintegrating into IFA over this past year, but the IFA Foundation has been serving the franchise community and supporting IFA now since 1983. So my fast math, in these past 40 plus years, you can imagine, of course, our programs and objectives have evolved, but our focus has really remained steadfast to help shape the future of franchising. So right now, we're really working to integrate with IFA, to align with this mission to promote and protect and advance the franchise model. And so while some really see us as just this charitable arm of IFA, I do like to describe us, as I mentioned, as sort of these tentacles out in the communities across the US, helping to build a pipeline for franchising and supporting the franchising community to really thrive. So Sydney, you can advance to this next slide, but here we showcase a few of our programs. The efforts of the foundation are really focused on building a thriving franchising community through awareness, through education, and through storytelling. So that is really about, one, building knowledge of opportunities in franchising among the public, especially focusing on diversifying the face of franchising. It's really helping to build that pipeline of future franchise professionals. Second, we're providing robust education, training, mentorship opportunities to those who have heard about franchising. They're interested, but really need a leg up in terms of various types of support to get into the industry and to really thrive as part of that. And third, we're telling the stories of the franchise community, the benefits of the model, the ways that we collectively are positively impacting communities. And part of that's really powering innovative research and data to help tell these stories. So all of this, in terms of the work that we're doing, manifests itself into 6 programs that we'll talk about today. And we'll dive into a few of these initiatives in particular, but I can touch on them at pretty high level now, just to hopefully whet your appetite a bit. So first, as we think about pipeline building and education programming, we have the Diversity Institute. We're very lucky to have David, who helms this initiative, to talk more about it. But in very brief, it's really about enhancing franchising's diversity, equity, and inclusion by educating, engaging, and supporting folks from traditionally underrepresented communities to engage in franchising in a number of different ways. Second, you can see here the Franchise Ascension Initiative. You'll hear us call it FAI or just Ascension, which just formally launched in this past year, which provides an accelerated pathway into franchise ownership for underrepresented groups by providing them with education, mentorship, resources that they need to succeed as franchise owners. And again, I'm very lucky to have David delve deeper into that in just a moment. We also have a program called VetFran that you may have heard, really intended to support veterans and their families as they transition from service to understand and access opportunities within the franchising world. We also have a suite of scholarships for undergraduates interested in franchising to access formal education and the business network that they need to succeed. So all of these collectively hit on various elements of kind of a spectrum into franchising as we're working to attract more people into this community. Now, on the storytelling front, there's a couple of initiatives I'll highlight today. Franchising Gives Back. Almost tells its own story just in the name, but this is all about promoting franchising as a force for good in communities around the world, really showcasing the meaningful impact that you all are having, the impact of local franchise owners, the brands that they represent, and how they're contributing positively to their communities. And of course, I'd be remiss to not mention our robust research portfolio and how this is really informing some valuable insights and on the value and opportunity of franchising as a path to entrepreneurship and generational wealth development, as well as developing trends that are impacting the model that we hope are useful to all of you across the franchising community. So that's a lot to digest, but I will say, I think if I had one takeaway for all of you on the whole as it relates to the foundation is, as a 501c3, as the other nonprofit arm of IFA, we really rely on the support of our members and the broader community, both financially, but perhaps more importantly for many, in terms of sharing expertise to really power these amazing programs. And we find that the foundation programs are really wonderful way to kind of dip your toe in and giving back to this model and this community that really means so much to all of us. So I will do a quick plug before we delve into a couple of these programs specifically, just to reach out if you're interested to hear more, to engage in some way, or even thinking further down the road about how you can help shape the future of these programs. I don't have it in here, but I will in a moment drop some emails into the chat that you can utilize. Okay, well, unfortunately, you're stuck hearing my voice for a couple more minutes as we do a deep dive. Our colleague Wendy, the director of our veteran programs, unfortunately couldn't join us today. So I will be her voice very briefly to tell you a little bit more about the VetFran program. As I mentioned, the goal of VetFran is really to help enable matches between well-qualified veterans, and we'll talk about why in a moment, and the franchises that are really eager to engage and support them. So you can see some of the data here. Our research shows that while 7% of the population is veterans, about 14% of franchise owners nationwide are vets. So, doubling that population, and there's some of the top performers in franchise systems. We know that they're very effective team leaders. These are skill sets and qualities that they've developed in their service. Experts at executing SOPs, strong managers of people and resources, hard workers, really focused on completing the mission, so to speak, which translates to profitability even within a limited resource environment. And really happy to be sharing best practices and successes across systems. So the opportunity there is really immense to be engaging veterans transitioning from their service into other successful pathways of life, to seize the opportunity to bring them into the franchising world. So VetFran exists exactly for this purpose. You can see on the next slide here just a little bit more about what VetFran is. We've been around since 1991, grown now to over 500 member companies. So VetFran is open to any IFA member who's really invested in providing discounts, incentives to veterans seeking to become franchisees, just as a commitment of showing their own investment in veterans. We have sort of a baseline for folks to become specific members of the VetFran community. We spend a lot of our efforts collectively in VetFran across all of these 500 companies and beyond, educating veterans about entrepreneurship, advocating for veterans, and building relationships between veterans, service organizations, and franchises and suppliers. So it's really about building a network to help bring more veterans into franchising again. So if this sounds like something you're interested to chat about, whether you're on the Zsor or supplier side, we'd love to engage you. And I know Wendy would love to have a conversation. So I will pause there. There's a link here. And again, I'll drop some contact info into the chat here so that we can continue the conversation. But with that, I will pass it over to David to talk about some of these other exciting foundation programs.
Awesome. Thank you, Jillian. Excellent job. Thank you, Sydney, for organizing this new member webinar. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm David Smith, the Director of Diversity Programs here at the IFA Foundation. And just wanted to give you a little bit of information about the Diversity Institute. Here, we're primarily made up of 3 affinity group councils. We have our Black Franchise Leadership Council, our Hispanic Latino Franchise Leadership Council, and our Pride Council, which represents the LGBTQ community. And all of these councils are made up of IFA members who have essentially raised their hand to say that they'd like to help promote franchising to these respective different audiences. And so with that, we've created several programs, whether they be in person or virtual, aimed at just educating various communities about the good of franchising and how to get into it. So we have webinars that we host on a regular, consistent basis. We also have different types of training at different expos that we participate in, or we even can do customized half-day programs in any particular city, wherever there's interest. And so if you're interested in kind of reaching and working with some of these councils, or if you have access to different business associations or different groups that are representative of these different communities, please feel free to reach out. The more hands, the better. And yeah, so next, please. Next slide, please. And then one of the biggest programs of the Diversity Institute, which was mentioned earlier, launched this year, was our Franchise Ascension Initiative. This is a 6-month boot camp program designed to help people from underrepresented backgrounds get into franchising. And so in our first year, we have a cohort of 17 extremely talented, bright individuals from 14 different states. 9 men, 8 women, and 2 US vets, actually. So it's a very diverse group, all very excited to learn about franchising and eventually get into the business. This program is open to anybody who's interested in participating. We'll launch another application round early next year with the intent to begin the cohort again in August, and then ending in February at the IFA convention. And so, yeah, each week, all of the cohort participants are receiving some intense online learning, as well as an opportunity to connect with an IFA mentor. And then also we have these kind of informal learnings that we do as a group to kind of help them understand just like the behind the scenes of franchising, to make sure that they understand all the barriers that they may encounter and that they may successfully navigate through this path. So it's a really great program. It's got support from the entire IFA team from the top down, and we're really excited to see this grow. It was founded and visioned by our board member, Omar Simmons, and his wife, Rania. And in just less than a year, it's gone from concept to actual program. And so we're really excited. If you're interested, or if you know anybody who may be a good candidate, please feel free to reach out and have them join us for our next cohort. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And before we move on from foundation, there was a question from Julie Carter. She asked, has there been any effort partnering with disability advocacy groups?
There's been some conversations. We're very open to making some more formal relationships. So, you know, if Julie has any recommendations about particular organizations, we'd love to have those conversations for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. And Julie, it looks like Jillian dropped hers and David's email addresses in the chat. So if you want to reach out to David and Jillian, and you guys can kind of go from there on next steps, or if you have any recommendations for them. But thank you so much for that question. And thank you, David and Jillian. All right, so for the rest of the webinar, you guys will be hearing my voice. So next up, we have our forums and committees. So our forums and committees are a really great opportunity for our members to network with other members and hold a bit of a thought leadership position within IFA. So to the left, we have our board of directors, and that is spearheaded by Matt Haller, who is our president and CEO. And then under Matt, we have Catherine Bartley Darden, who is our chief of staff, and Morgan Spiro, who is the EA to Matt. But they are our board of directors, as you guys know, with every board of directors, work really hard and do have a really big hand in a lot of things that happen at IFA. So we're really appreciative of all of their work and volunteering their time. And then to the right are our forums and committees. So we have a forum for all three of our member types. So we have the franchisor forum, franchisee forum, and the supplier forum advisory board. The franchisor and franchisee forum are open to any franchisor and franchisee member. Really doesn't matter who you are or what your area of interest is. Those are open for any franchisor or franchisee to join. The supplier forum advisory board, although it is open to all suppliers, it is considered the voting body of our supplier members. So to be a full member of the supplier forum advisory board, you do have to be voted in. But at convention and at our advocacy summit, convention is always in February and advocacy is always in September in DC. We do have in-person forum and committee meetings at both of those in-person events. So even if you're not on a forum or a committee, but you're interested in sitting in on a meeting just to get a better understanding of kind of what's discussed during those meetings, what might be asked of you if you were on the forum or committee, and also get a chance to meet forum and committee members, you're more than welcome to sit in on those meetings at those in-person events. The only ones that would be closed to the public would be the board of directors and the finance committee, but everything else is open. And then outside of the board of directors and the forums, we have a number of different committees that our members can join. So these committees are just a little bit more broad. kind of based off of your area of interest. Like if you are a marketing person, the Marketing and Innovation Committee might be the best one for you. If you're really interested in government relations or you have a new general counsel, any of these GR committees like the Legislative Action Group or the not legal symposium, the Legal Legislative Committee. So like I mentioned, these are all open to members. You can join any of them. In my follow-up email, I will send a link to all of our forums and committees on our website, so you guys can easily find them. You can kind of do a little bit more reading up on the specific forums and committees to see kind of what the overall description of them are. And we do have at least one staff liaison listed for all of our forums and committees on our website. So you can reach out to that staff liaison directly if you do want some more information. All right, and then next up we have the Franchise Business Network. So we have a franchise business network and we have a women's franchise network. Both of those operate very similarly. I'm going to be focusing on the FBNs just because I am the staff liaison for that program. But the Women's Franchise Network operates very similarly to the Franchise Business Network. So IFA, as an association, we do not host regional events throughout the year, but our members do. These are all of the current FBN locations across the US. The Women's Franchise Network locations look pretty similar. Some might be a little bit different, but if there is some overlap with the location, they will often put on events together. It's just a little bit easier that way. So it's in the name. And are both opportunities for members and non-members to network with others in their region. And there is always an educational aspect to all of the events. So whether that's roundtables or a panelist, speakers, kind of whatever works best for that location, there is something for everyone. Most of the FBN events are in person. There are some that will be virtual every now and then, but you should expect them to be in person. And like I mentioned, they are open to members and non-members. It's not just for members, but if you happen to be a supplier member, I'm going to call that out really quick. If you happen to be a supplier member, you can attend as many FBN or WFN events as you'd like. If you are a non-member supplier, at a certain point, you will be asked to join IFA in order to continue to attend those events. But yeah, like I mentioned, it's just a really great way to meet others in the franchise industry that are also in your region and kind of build your network up a little bit more. And it's just a great way to kind of be involved in your local communities of franchising. And also in the follow-up, I will send the direct link to all of the FBNs and WFNs on our website so you can easily find them. We have hosts for all of the locations that are also listed online. So if you want to reach out to the host of your local FBN, you're more than welcome to do that and kind of just be or stay up to date on what's going on and when events are upcoming. All right, and the next up we have Friendship. So Friendship is our mentor program. So I'm sure everyone has heard of a mentor program. Friendship is specific to IFA and IFA membership. So in order to be a mentor or a mentee, you do have to be an IFA member. There is no additional cost to take advantage of Friendship. So if you wanted to become a mentor, really the only hard requirement we have is that you've been in the industry for at least 5 years. But some of the loose requirements would be that you're interested in volunteering your time to be a mentor and you're interested in giving back to someone coming up the ladder in this capacity. To become a mentee, it's pretty simple. I would just need a completed enrollment form and then your top 3 picks of a potential mentor. We have mentors that cover all 3 of our member types. So there are franchisor mentors, supplier mentors, and franchisee mentors. So no matter what your member type is, there is a mentor available to you. Once I get back the enrollment form and your top 3 picks for a mentor, I'll reach out to them and then match you with whichever one has the bandwidth at the time to take on another mentee. And then you guys are kind of off to start your relationship. So the friendship relationship lasts for a year. The mentor and mentee normally set a end date. During that year, we suggest that you have 4 meetings or 1 a quarter. If you end up having more than 4, that's totally fine. I just wouldn't go below 4. I just think 4 is just a nice number, and I don't know if you can get a ton accomplished with 3 meetings throughout a year. All of these meetings can be done virtually. We know people are spread out across the US. You might not live anywhere near your mentor or mentee. But if you are able to have a meeting in person, if you're both at convention or at advocacy summit or even an external event that's a non-IFA event, you can absolutely have in-person meetings or an in-person meeting if you're able to do that, but it's not required. And yeah, that's really kind of how friendship works. It's just a really good way for people who are brand new to franchising and still trying to figure things out to get matched up with a veteran in the industry. And kind of pick their brain on best practices if there's anything you're struggling with within your system or within your company. It's a really great way to kind of just be mentored in general. And then the last thing about friendship, we don't currently have mentor or multiple mentors from the same company, but that's totally fine. If there are multiple people from your company that are interested in being a mentor, that is totally fine. And then on the mentee side, you can have as many employees participate as mentees as you'd like. So it's not just for one person at the company. If there's 1 of you to 5 of you or even more that would like to be a mentee and have your own mentor, that's totally fine. We would just need them to be connected to the membership. All right, so into the promotion piece a little bit. So we promote our members in a number of different ways. This is specifically through digital and print. So this would be through our advertising department, which falls under sales. So some of or I guess one of the main ways we promote our members, which is included in your membership, would be to have a company listing on our website, franchise.org, and then also in our printed guide, which is called the Franchise Opportunities Guide. We have 2 editions of the fall year. There's a spring, summer, and a fall, winter. And both editions, when they're published, they are sent to our members, and we also pass them out at certain events like convention. I believe some of the Franchise Update Media events. We do make sure that they are distributed to a large number of people across the US. I'm not going to go into every single one of these promotion items, mainly because I am not the expert on these, but there is a lot here to kind of go through. But as you can see, there are a bunch of different ways, again, through digital and print advertising with IFA and through your membership, that you can promote your brand a little bit more. And if you do have any questions about advertising, please let me know. You can shoot me an email and I will connect you with Carly. She is our Senior Director of Advertising. All right, and then we have our in-person events, which I'm sure most people are a little bit more familiar with than maybe the advertising piece. And promoting in person would be sponsorship and exhibits, which also falls under sales. So I think our largest kind of exhibit and sponsorship opportunities would be at convention. For those of you who are unfamiliar with convention, that's our largest event each year. It's also the largest event within the franchise industry each year. At convention, suppliers mainly are able to have a booth on the exhibit hall floor. Franchisors can have a booth, but the only way a franchisor can exhibit at convention is if they are a B2B franchisor. So a brand that franchises, but also provides a good or service to the industry. But mainly you will just see suppliers exhibiting at convention. And then outside of convention, we have a number of different events that you can sponsor. Convention is really the only event that has a true exhibit hall floor. At the Emerging Franchisor Conference, depending on your sponsorship level, you can have kind of like a tabletop where you have some, tchotchkes out and information about your company. But convention is really the only place that, again, has those true booth trade show floor situation. But again, I'm not the expert on sponsorship or exhibits. So if you do have any questions about sponsoring, pricing or anything, or different sponsoring opportunities or exhibiting at convention, please feel free to reach out to me and I will connect you with Lynette James, who is the Senior Director of Sponsorship and Exhibits. All right, and then now getting into our events a little bit more. So our Emerging Franchisor Conference is the Lone Survivor. It's the last one standing for 2024. That's coming up very quickly in a couple of weeks in Austin, Texas. This is our full 2025 event schedule. So like I mentioned, convention is the first event we have each year. It's our largest event. And it's going to be in Vegas next year. It will also be in Vegas, I believe, through 2029. So we are just standing still in Vegas. So I just like to tell people that so they can plan accordingly. But really, no matter what your area of interest is, there's something for everyone at convention. So yeah, it doesn't matter if you're operations, fran dev, marketing, really anything. There's something there. There's a session, a reception, a just anything you can think of. There's something there for everyone. So convention is kind of the place where everyone goes. And then after convention, all the other events are kind of smaller, more niche events throughout the year. So if you do have any specific questions about an event, I'm more than happy to provide you with a bit more information. But they're all great events, and as members, you receive the member rate to attend, sponsor, or exhibit these events. All right, and then these are just some of our partnered events. So we have 2 partnered events with Franchise Update Media, the Franchise Customer Experience Conference and FLDC, which just passed last week. Those are, like I said, partnered with Franchise Update Media. And then a newer and the newest International Franchise Show London. I think this year was the first year that we partnered with them at the 2024 show, which this date up here is wrong, but the 2025 dates are April 11th through the 12th in London, England. And then we have our newest one, which is the IFA World Franchise Show. That is going to be in Miami, Florida next year for the first time, May 9th through the 10th. I mentioned a lot about convention, that being the place where suppliers go to sit. The International Franchise Show and the IFA World Show are really set up for franchisors to promote their brands. So as IFA members, if you're a franchisor and you want to exhibit at the International Franchise Show London, you would receive a 10% discount on your booth. And then as an IFA member for the IFA World Franchise Show, you would receive a 20% discount on your booth. Again, any of these events, if you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out and I can give you a bit more information or connect you with another member of the team. And before I jump out of events, Kelly, who can you guys speak to about speaking opportunities for convention? So that would be either Janine Luttrell or Alan Catlett. Kelly, I will reach out to you personally after this and I will provide you, or I'll just connect you with Alan and Janine. But they would be the ones that you would want to speak to about any opportunities to speak at convention. All right, and we are nearing towards the end. So really quick, just wanted to give a shout out to our preferred vendors. So we have Answer Connect, Bennett Trends, Paychecks, and Sochi. So our preferred vendor program is expanding a little bit. I know there was kind of a ask that was sent out earlier this year, or maybe a couple months ago, to other supplier members who might be interested in becoming a preferred vendor. If you do have any questions about the preferred vendor program or how to get involved, you can again reach out to me and I can connect you with Sheila, who heads up that program. All right, well, that was all we had for you guys today. Thank you so much for attending and thank you again for being IFA members. We are so appreciative of your support and membership and just your support in general. We cannot do anything we do without you guys as members, so thank you so much. I know you can't click this link right now, but you will get a copy of the slide deck in my follow-up email. So if you would like to, please go ahead and take this short member survey just to let us know how we're doing. But any questions you have, please feel free to reach out to myself, David, Jillian, Sandy, Jeff, or anyone on IFA's team. We're always here to help. And thank you to my lovely speakers for being on today and your time.
Thanks, Sydney. Bye.
Everyone.